million defamation verdict, won by writer E. Jean Carroll, saying he can't be sued for comments he made while he was president during his first term, invoking the Westfall Act. It's the second time that Trump has asked the court to nix damages awarded to Carroll. The justices refused to hear his appeal for a 2023 jury verdict for $5 million that found Trump liable for remarks he made after his first term ended. That judgment has now been paid. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
On Wall Street, the Dow was down 499 points. More from townhall.com.
Full speed into summer, and if you're thinking about buying a home this year, here's what you need to do first. Get pre-qualified, not once you found the house, now before you even start looking. Here's why. In this market, houses sell in days, sometimes hours. The buyers who win aren't the ones with the highest offer. They're the ones already approved, ready to move, with a lender who can actually close. If you're not pre-qualified, you're a week behind. Maybe that house is gone. Well, I want to tell you about Fellowship Home Loans. For over 20 years, my friends Mike and Brian, guys that I've worked with, they've built Fellowship around one thing, getting loans done for real families with unique situations. They use programs and options that typical lenders don't take the time to explore. Down payment solutions that fit the way people actually live. Everything's done in-house, one roof, one team, all with a servant-led mentality. Get pre-qualified today. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G or call 800-510-MIKE. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
There's always something.
Iran has been a problem since God was a baby. If you give them a bomb, they will use it.
Something of interest.
This particular virus has a long incubation period, so the monitoring period is 42 days, and the 42 days started with the departure of the ship.
Something that affects your life.
The U.S. and China will have clashes and conflicts if the Taiwan issue is not handled properly.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Trisha Burns never answers the call. Trisha Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Trisha Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Trisha Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the Suicide Prevention Hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Trisha Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Trisha Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job.
Let's Go Brandon PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Chris Foss, Treasurer.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. Tuesday night.
Missouri decides 2026.
All the results and reactions from the Missouri State Primary.
You have to get out and vote.
From the voices you know and trust in St. Louis for election night coverage.
Amendment 4.
Amendment 5.
County executives.
Coverage begins Tuesday night at 7 on St. Louis's conservative voice.
Right here.
News Talk STL. Brought to you by Fast Signs in Bridgeton, 21 Recycling in House Springs, Gemini Wealth Group, and Freddie's Market. Number 1 for live and local
conservative talk.
I've been a registered Democrat for 28 years. I'm really glad you're talking about this.
You gotta love these idiots out here. They think we're all stupid, I guess.
news, analysis, opinion.
Totally agree on that.
I disagree with you.
It's over.
Very upset.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
Wanted to ask you really quick. Is there room on the bandwagon for me?
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the upper 80s today. Going to be looking at sunnier skies across much of the area. Could see some upper level wildfire smoke. Not going to be an issue near the surface. As we look off into Thursday, temperatures back towards the upper 80s. Once again, mostly sunny skies. Big changeover is going to be Friday morning. Scattered showers and storms that'll be staying with us off and on as we head off into Saturday as well. Then things are looking to dry up this week and temperatures back towards the lower 80s. For the first alert for Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
The time to rise has been engaged. We're better, best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday afternoon, a crazy busy day here on Colombo and Company. I'm Tony Colombo in studio with producer Ashlyn. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. 6 days until the Missouri primary election. Massively important primary election. I know we have been just pounding this for days and weeks, and it's only going to get worse because it is. You got to get the word out. We need educated voters. We need voter turnout, voter participation, because there's just too much on the line. There's just a lot of really important things that, we talk, the hyper-local elections like state rep positions, county exec positions, that only impact, I shouldn't say only impact, but, specifically impact regions, counties, areas, but then also the statewide issues like the amendments. Massively important. So there's a lot going on. And just a reminder, if you are curious to see exactly what's going to be on your specific ballot this coming Tuesday, go to our website, newstalkstl.com. You can check out a sample ballot there. Just by putting in your address, you will see exactly what's going to be on your ballot. Read the different issues, the ballot language on the issues, and if you need more information, if you have questions, do the research, keep it right here. We're going to be talking about it throughout the afternoon and in the coming days to try to make sure everybody understands exactly what's on the line this coming Tuesday and all these very important elections. And then right after we vote on Tuesday, we shift into preparation and all the ads and campaigns for the general election in November, the midterm general election in November, both here in Missouri and Illinois, and of course, all across the country. So it's just going to, it doesn't end on Tuesday. It just shifts into the next phase of this. But what happens on Tuesday is going to have a massive impact on those races and what they look like and what the decisions that voters are going to be making in November are. So there's a lot going on. We'll dig into them specifically here in about a half an hour. We're going to be joined by our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd. Nobody is more plugged in to or knowledgeable about Missouri politics than Rodney, and Rodney always delivers his insight and that information from a non-biased perspective, which I love and I think is so important. Just the facts, ma'am. You know, just an understanding of where we are, what these various initiatives do, the truth about the changes, because if you're listening to the political ads out there, you know, it's very contradicting messages, very different descriptions of things like Amendment 4 and Amendment 5, depending on which ad you are currently being exposed to. So what's the truth? We'll talk about all of that and try to unpack these important races even more with Rodney Boyd this afternoon, again, around 2:40 this afternoon, so a little less than a half an hour from now. It's Wednesday, which means we're also going to have some fun today, as we do every Wednesday, and open KLOSE'S Cabinet with our buddy Mark Close from KC95. That'll be just after 3 o'clock. Also in the 3 o'clock hour, the Fed today just made an announcement regarding interest rates. This is something that Paul Kurtman, our financial expert, our economic expert here on the show that we talk to every Monday to start the week. Paul mentioned, you know, that this was going to be a big week, and we were waiting for some major announcements, also some other reports that would have impact on the financial world, and it seems that at least some of that has happened today. And Paul is going to join us in the 3 o'clock hour about 3:40 this afternoon to fill us in on what the announcement was, what the impact may be, what the future looks like. So we'll get filled in on all of that in the 3 o'clock hour with Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments. And in just a few minutes, we are going to be joined by our intrepid cub reporter in the field, the great STEL babe, producer STEL PONTIKES. I know he's been watching this Anthony Fauci stuff, which is a wild ride. We previewed some of this yesterday. Everybody, I think, was kind of strapping in to see how this testimony was going to go today. And then we kind of got a bunch of nothing. We just got kind of a whole lot of dodging and pleading of the fifth from Anthony Fauci, which I don't think everybody was prepared for the level of obstruction that Fauci was planning on going through. His lawyers his attorney got kicked out of the room at one point. Over 70 times Anthony Fauci pleaded the fifth today, and there's been a lot of reaction and a lot of fallout from that, from not just the media, but from the people in the room. Rand Paul and others, our own Josh Hawley, who at one point asked Anthony Fauci what color is the carpet, because he couldn't get Anthony Fauci to answer anything else. I mean, it was that level of shenanigans with this testimony today. And I know Stel was keeping a close eye on that, so I want to talk to him about that situation. Also get you an update on what is happening with Iran, as there was an attack launched against the United States. The president today, a profanity-laced statement in reaction to these latest attacks. So it's getting more dicey by the day when it comes to the conflict with Iran. I told you, it's a busy day, and there's a lot to talk about as we go through the afternoon. Stel will be with us in just about 5 minutes. I wanted to start with this story. This story actually broke yesterday evening. I saw it a little bit after, a couple hours after I was after the show ended yesterday. This was the top national headline on several media outlets yesterday, and it's all regarding a local story. Cori Bush is in the hot seat. Speaking of the elections on Tuesday, she's running against Wesley Bell again, and that trying to get reelected to Congress. I don't like her chances, but that'll be one of the things that we touch on with Rodney Boyd in a little bit. But Cori Bush in the hot seat for nonprofits' missing paper trail. Fox News Digital released this report last night saying months before losing re-election, former Representative Cori Bush touted the work of her nonprofit to donors, even though records indicate the organization may have never been registered as a tax-exempt organization. Bush described Poltivist Power. Poltivist Power is the correct way to say this. That's the word. Poltivist Power, Inc. as a new 501c4 organization uniting grassroots organizations with political strategy to fight oppression. In a fundraising email, that's how she described this organization. Quote, "My team and I are on the ground, and we could use your support. Can we count on you to donate to our tornado fund today so we can continue our relief efforts," unquote. Bush wrote she made the same characterization in a second fundraising email sent several weeks later, but Fox News Digital could not identify any IRS record showing Poltivist Power had obtained or claimed tax-exempt status. While not proof of wrongdoing, the lack of a paper trail for Bush's organization raises questions about whether the former squad member misled donors during her time in office, and without reporting, it's unclear how much the group fundraised. Bush, who first arrived in Congress in 2021, was known for her progressive stances, and grouped with the likes of AOC, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib. Bush began taking a critical view of the U.S. relationship with Israel, and her criticisms became the centerpiece topic of her 2024 primary against Democratic challenger Wesley Bell, a race, of course, that she lost. The Fox News report reads, now out of office, Bush has remained involved in progressive politics in her local scene, which is true. Also, she did not respond to requests by Fox News Digital to address this issue. The organization's domain, poltivistpower.com, was first purchased on April 1st, 2025, according to records. Bush announced the creation of the group shortly after a tornado struck the St. Louis area. That's where that part of that, everybody remembers the horrible tornado last year. That's when she'd said, we're on the ground, we're helping families, please donate. Since then, in addition to not having a filing recorded with the IRS, the group seemed to have also wrongly filed paperwork with Delaware's Department of State and with Act Blue Civics, a fundraising site for Democratic groups. Notably, Bush's fundraising emails, in which she highlighted the organization, also included a disclaimer clarifying that, quote, contributions to Poltivist Power are not affiliated with Poltivist Action and are not political donations. So that's creating confusion as well. What's really interesting in this also, in this Fox report, and it's, telling that this is looking at it from a national standpoint, because as it mentioned, as I read, they talk about how, she lost in 2024 and how she's remained involved in progressive politics and her local scene. Yeah, like running for re-election, which is happening in 6 days. She's very much still a part of the political conversation here. All of this being revealed has garnered the attention of Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, who just announced that her office has opened an investigation to look into whether Bush had personally benefited from her fundraising efforts during the tornado recovery and the work that Poltivist allegedly did at the time. This is really interesting, especially with her being on the ballot in 6 days, running for re-election to the United States Congress, that it looks like there could be, allegedly here, looks like there could be some financial problems with Cori Bush and her fundraising in this organization that may not have been what she claimed it to be. Really interesting stuff that we're going to continue to keep an eye on. All right, we're going to dive back into the local issues of the day in about 20 minutes when we talk to our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd, about this Tuesday's elections. But first, we are going to talk to our intrepid cub reporter in the field, the great producer, STEL PONTIKES. Get you updated on all of this madness with Anthony Fauci today and more as we continue here on Colombo and Company next.
So she ran away in a sleep.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. News Talk STL.
First thing in the morning and pretty much all day.
Live and local. 101.9 and 94.1. News Talk STL.
The radical left let crime and drugs pour into our nation, and they let biological men into girls' sports. But here in Missouri, if there's a problem, we fix it. That's why Ann Wagner's fixing the mess the radical left made and delivering for us. Wagner voted to ban biological men from competing in girls' sports, and she voted to fund the police and provide more resources for Border Patrol agents, keeping our families, communities, and children safe. And Ann Wagner didn't stop there. In Congress, Wagner passed the largest working-class tax cut in American history, kept big government out of our business, protected our way of life, and ensured our communities remain safe. That's why Ann Wagner's endorsed by the Missouri Farm Bureau and Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Ann Wagner for Congress on August 4th.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu Beef French Dip. I love Capriati's, and you will too. Visit Capriati's now at 2 locations, on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. As a former SWAT commander, Tim Whitney has led Under Pressure. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, he helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability.
I'm Tim Whitney, and I'd be honored to earn your vote. Together we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home.
Paid for by friends of Tim Whitney. Heather Missy, Treasurer.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup, sure am.
So you know the old-timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your politician's Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people, and the politician's Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Forward 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom. 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the politicians' Amendments 4 and 5, paid for by Missourians for fair governance.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
This week, Trump asked the Supreme Court to let him limit mail-in voting. We'll get Zach Smith's legal opinion on that at 4:20.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Try to be best, 'cause you're only a man, and a man's got to learn to take it. Try to believe.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. We're going to talk to our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd, in about 15 minutes to get you the latest and continue to unpack all of the big issues on the ballot that is right around the corner, 6 days from now, the Missouri primaries. Looking forward to that. And right now, joining us on the line is the great STEL babe, producer STEL PONTIKES. Stella, I want to dive right in because holy moly, there's a lot going on here. I know that you've been keeping an eye on as much as anybody can. There's just so much. It's hard to keep up with all of it. Anthony Fauci testified, and I say testify, I'm using air quotes with the word testify, in front of the United States Senate, in front of a Senate panel today. We were previewing this yesterday with Susie Moore, and I think a lot of people were chomping at the bit to see how this would go, and what it turned into was just an absolute circus of obstruction and dodging and pleading the fifth from Anthony Fauci throughout. We'll get into some of the specifics here in a second, but what did you think of this performance today by Anthony Fauci?
Well, first off, I'm happy to join you on this Wednesday. Thanks for letting me chat with you a little bit. And let me frame our discussion, if I can, just a little bit.
Please.
When I was a kid back in prehistoric days, we played a certain game during recess that was called dodgeball. And I'm just saying that it looks to me like Anthony Fauci is a pro at dodgeball because that's exactly what he played, in my estimation, all morning. Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno, they all threw some great questions at Fauci, and he ducked that ball every time, pleading the fifth every single time. I think over maybe 100 times, 120 times he pled the fifth.
I saw over 70, but I don't know what the exact number is. But it was to every question. I mean, that's all he did today.
That's fair, but somewhere between 70 and 120.
Yeah. I mean, it was just constant.
The audacity of this individual has me steaming so much that I don't know how I can keep my emotions in, because we all know what we lived through. Families know what they lived through. Businesses know what they lived through. Schools, legislative folks had to deal with this issue. Everything that surrounded our lives during the COVID pandemic, it was all because Mr. Science was the expert. He was the science that was telling us that everything he said was what we needed to do. And now here we are looking back, realizing that, no, we were deceived on most of this stuff, and a lot of it was made up. So everything that went on today, I know you've got plenty that you want to say about it, but to me, everything was so frustrating. The fact that you complete the fifth, because I guess you're thinking, well, I've got immunity that was given to me. I've got the pardon that Biden gave him. And now I'm hearing from certain folks, and I'm sure
Susie,
we can get some finality
on
the situation from Susie Moore.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've heard some folks say that states can go after him. If we can't get him on a federal level, that states can file certain issues against him. So, Susie knows a lot more about that than I do. But we've got a situation here that is so frustrating, and I'll let you respond.
Well, no, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. And that's the ultimate question too. You nailed it. The ultimate question is, can he get away with this? Is this going to keep him, this strategy, is this going to keep us from ever actually hear him have to answer these questions or be presented with the clear contradictions, since the diary entries were released by Rand Paul several days ago, and we continue to learn more about all of that. And we see that literally what he was saying and doing behind the scenes through the entries that he was making in his diary were in direct opposition of what he was saying and doing publicly. And we talked about the pardon with Susie yesterday, which has been a big part of this, because as Susie reiterated, the pardon basically said, he can't be charged for anything that he did between, the time periods that are in the pardon, which covers the pandemic and all of that. But he
About 10 years.
Yeah,
10
but
years.
he can certainly be charged for anything that he were to do now, or if he were to lie to Congress, or if he were, so that was one of the things that James Comer was reiterating and talking about yesterday, that, that pardon is not going to protect him from the questions that are coming in this hearing. And so I guess the strategy was just don't answer any questions. Just don't answer. Now, Rand Paul has already come out and said that this is not going to work, that he's going to this performance today is going to come back to haunt Fauci legally. There's been talks already about holding Fauci in contempt of Congress. Rand Paul is seeking those contempt of Congress charges, and I think there's some more, things that they have cooking to try to either force him to answer these questions or hold him accountable. But that, will be the ultimate. That's the ultimate question, Stell. And I think the most important thing is, will he get away with it? And unfortunately, my gut feeling is he will, because they always do. But how do you feel about it? Do you feel like, Rand Paul's a man on a mission, and there's nothing like a man on a mission to actually finally, break the cycle and get something done. But I don't know. And as you said, so I'm looking at some of these numbers just to kind of correct the topic. So, some of these headlines, if Fauci invokes Fifth Amendment over 70 times in Senate hearing, but then another report a little bit later on had a number more like what you said. This was from Rand Paul himself, who posted on social media after the hearing, and Rand Paul said it was 111 times.
Wow.
Yeah, so there you go. Either way, it was ridiculous. What's your gut feeling on this? Do you feel like, for once, somebody's going to be held accountable or not?
No, sadly, I feel like you do. I feel as though somehow he's going to get off the hook. I'm not sure if the auto pen issue is going to come into this situation, if they're going to try to analyze that whole aspect of it. Bernie Moreno shared a painful story, and we've all heard so many stories of anguish and pain for families, whether it was dear loved ones who died because they couldn't go to visit them. Folks couldn't visit them in the hospital before they passed away. I had a situation like that. A close cousin of mine I'd known all my life in Chicago, I couldn't go up to visit because of the COVID restrictions, and he passed away. So I never had a chance to say goodbye to him. The situations like that, and Marino shared the story about one family that went to a high school football game. They wanted to see, I think it was a family friend who was playing in the game, and it was mom, dad, and two kids. They sat well away from everybody else in a distant corner of the bleachers, outdoors, did not have masks on, and the mom was arrested because of that.
Oh, my.
At a high school football game, during the whole fiasco that he was essentially the focus of everything that happened during all that, because he was Mr. Science, and we had to believe every word that he enunciated. So I'm with you. I'm very skeptical as to whether we're going to see a real resolution to this, but at least it's out there. I'm wondering how much of mainstream media is actually going to cover it, because I've heard stories already that most of the legacy media seems to be ignoring these hearings. So I don't know what to say, except, yes, I agree with you that I'm very skeptical that there's going to be a real resolution to this, and that he's going to actually suffer some sort of penalty for what happened.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is how I feel. And you just bring up, and I'm sure for everybody, when they hear you reference things that happened during the pandemic or think about their own lives, we all knew at the time that there was something going on, that we weren't getting the whole story, that this didn't seem right. And, like something like that, somebody who's outside at a high school football game, outdoors.
With no masks on.
And
no mask.
Outdoors with no mask on, but also, distancing themselves from other people, outside watching a high school football game, distancing themselves from other, to be arrested in the United States of America for not wearing a mask. Even
Insanity.
even then, we knew that was we had gone way too far. But think about all the things that we've learned in the last few years about just how made up in some areas. I mean, literally made up in some areas, or overblown, or the way we were misguided in so many areas. To think about those actions with the knowledge that we have now is even more infuriating, and that's why it is so important to force somebody like Anthony Fauci, who was at was the lead on all of these, to explain himself, to answer these questions. And this can't be the end of the story, because this is an absolute joke. I do want to play a little a clip here real quick. Sorry to catch you off guard there, Ashley, but if you could turn the thing on over there. Just a little part of Josh Hawley's line of questions, which isn't even a line of questions anymore, because this is at the point where they realize that he's not going to answer anything. Here's part of our own Senator Josh Hawley's interaction with Anthony Fauci earlier today.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally. Cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
That's a question that he didn't answer. And that was, there's a good example of the tone that was taken during this hearing today, when these senators realized that Anthony Fauci wasn't going to answer any questions. At one point, I mentioned this earlier, one of his attorneys got removed from the room because the attorney kept interrupting and butting in constantly while they were trying to get any information out of Anthony Fauci. I love what Josh Hawley said there, Stell. And, if Anthony Fauci is supposed to be a doctor and a scientist and a man of health, I don't know how he sleeps at night. But that was what was happening today in the Senate. Final thoughts for now on this, and whatever hopeful path forward you see maybe that we could take.
Well, Josh brought up two interesting points among his many that he mentioned, and those were the cash awards that Fauci seemed to be interested in.
The prizes,
because there was
awards
over $1 million
the awards that he was nominating himself for and entering himself into and winning all of that.
Yes,
money.
There were 9 federal cash awards, and he had 8 federal employees on his list helping him to put the entries in order for him to be eligible to win these awards, over $1 million in awards. He had a front page, actually a front cover story in InStyle magazine, while everything else is going on, while families are suffering, while people are dying, etc. He's doing his cover story with InStyle magazine, and that brought up another point of irritation for me, and I'm sure for so many people, regarding everything that went on during the pandemic. So to look at those, plus the issues regarding AutoPen and everything else, this whole situation is so irritating, and I'm right there with you. Are we going to see any type of penalty in this situation, and I'm sadly saying I'm afraid we may not.
Yeah.
But at least let's get all this out into the open and discuss it. I'm all for that.
And let's not forget it, and let's not let it fade away, and insist for once that these people are held to account and they're forced to answer these questions, because this was an absolute circus today with Anthony Fauci in the United States Senate. STEL babe, producer STEL PONTIKES, really appreciate your time as always, my friend. Great conversation. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, and I've got a busy afternoon because I'm trying to follow the Missouri River 340. For folks who aren't familiar with this, there are kayakers and all sorts of river lovers who are going from Kansas City to St. Charles on the Missouri River. And so this is over the next couple of days here. So if folks are interested, check it out online. I think the leaders are coming up to Hermann, Missouri later this afternoon, but it's 340 miles of the Missouri River from Kansas City into the St. Charles area. So it's pretty cool.
There's nothing more to soothe the soul, especially on an aggravating day like today, than being out on the water. That's really great stuff. Stel, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, my friend.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Great Stel PONTIKES there. And we are going to switch gears into the local issues and prepare for this massively important election day that is just 6 days away. This coming Tuesday, August 4th, is the all-important Missouri primaries. We're going to talk to our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd, about the issues next.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
101.9 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. Newstalk STL.
Newstalk STL.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Tricia Burns never answers the call. Tricia Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Tricia Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Tricia Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the suicide prevention hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Tricia Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Tricia Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bullpack paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, it's Vic. If you have a tree that you think is dead, you can get Roots Plus to remove it for you. Or if you think the tree is savable, or if Roots Plus thinks it's savable, they can save your tree and you keep your cash. Call them and find out what that's all about at 314-440-3662. The crews are great. They get things done. They removed the tree for me, and they did expert work, and I definitely will put my name on their company. So save the tree with Roots Plus LLC. RootsPlusLLC.com.
Travis Wilson here, State Representative of District 106 in St. Charles, Missouri's first state capital. As a 31-year resident of St. Charles County, I know the issues that are important to our residents, such as protecting women's sports, stopping harmful procedures on minors, and fighting the woke agenda. As your representative, I know what it takes to bring new opportunities to our community to ensure our children have a brighter future. It's been the honor of a lifetime for my family and me to represent you, and I humbly ask for your vote again on August 4th.
Paid for by Wilson for St. Charles. Merle Schneider, Treasurer.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. As I mentioned, joining us now on the line is our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd. And Rodney, we are right at the threshold here. Final days, home stretch for candidates and groups to get out there. Final push to the voters for these all-important Missouri primary elections that happen in 6 days. How are you feeling about the?
6 days.
Yeah, I know, crazy, right? How are you feeling about the energy and momentum surrounding this election in general? There's not usually this much intensity on a midterm primary, but it's well-deserved in this case because there's some major impactful issues on the ballot. How do you feel about the energy surrounding this?
I think as you would want and hope, as you said, we're 6 days away, and people are starting to pay attention now and ask questions and sort of think about consequences of different things. So this is good. I mean, this is what you want. I was at the Cardinals game yesterday, and I was talking to people were asking me, it's like the new thing, people were asking me questions about 4 and 5. And I've learned to just try to answer the questions, but people are really quick to try to conclude. So then you're for them. So you're for them. And I'm like, you asked me what they were trying to accomplish, and I'm telling you what the issues were that brought them. And I was at a table with 4 people, and I can tell you that I was one of the 4, and the 3 folks that I was explaining the ballot measures to seemed to have made up their minds.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Can I say something real quick? Because I think that's really interesting, and I think it's going to play a big role in the results on Tuesday. And quite frankly, it terrifies me because I've experienced this as well.
Okay.
I when you just explain, let's specifically say Amendment 4, because Amendment 4, as you know, is my biggest. I think Amendment 4 is the biggest issue on the ballot. I think it's going to have massive impact, positively or negatively, on our future, and we just got to get it right and vote yes on 4 and stop special interests from amending the Constitution whenever they want to. But I've experienced this as well, and I think this is really interesting. Anytime you intentionally don't put your own bias, or pitch into it, and you just explain the facts, where we're at now and what this does, it almost you immediately get accused of being for this. So you're pushing it. Well, no, and what that tells me, Rodney, I want to know if you think this as well. What that tells me is the opposition, the other side, has done a really good job of convincing people of things that maybe aren't necessarily true about this issue. And when you just present the facts, you suddenly are you're tearing apart that narrative, and therefore looked at as somebody who's pro that issue. I feel like that is a good sign that other side has done a good job of convincing folks of a situation that doesn't exist.
You have to be right, Tony. The other thing about the conversations that I've had, and it's just worked out this way, the people that I have been talking to specifically have been people that I know vote Republican. I don't know I know they are conservative people. And the level of distrust from those folks is intriguing. So I try to sort of chip away at it by saying, so here's the deal with the initiative petitions. Right now, the process is the bar is as low as is probably as low as it is anywhere in the country to amend our Constitution. So if you have an idea and resources, it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously there's some guardrails, but you could probably get almost anything in our Constitution, from bingo to we almost had a gentleman that had enough money put himself in the Constitution, right? Literally, it was close.
Oh wow!
And people kind of go, yeah, and then they say, okay, well then why is this so urgent now? And why wouldn't it include all these other things that protect us? And I'm like, guys, you have to get these things through the General Assembly, right? to get to this vote on next Tuesday, they had to go through Jeff City. And so it was funny because one of the guys who I know is a Republican said to me, you're not sitting here asking us to trust Jeff City. I said, well, yeah, it's your party. I mean, what are you talking about? It's a Republican. Yeah, but I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about the forces behind them. And it's like you can't. So I just had to say last night, I said, look, guys, we're here to see the Cardinals and Cubs. You guys asked me a question. I gave you my thought. And then it got into, well, you're friends with the governor, so you're not necessarily like, Dad, this isn't about.
Yeah.
And the other part that got most of the time was on the income tax deal. And everybody at the table said, we'd love to get rid of the income tax, but not until we know what comes after. And I said, it's not set up that way. And one of the guys said, and that's my problem. Like, I've been to Jeff City. I know people that serve up there. Nobody can tell me for sure what's coming next. And he's like, that's just a bridge too far for me. So I said, well, the current bridge is decaying and it's not working and it's not going to be sustainable. That's the current income tax model. So we've got to do something, right? And it was an interesting conversation, like I said, with three people that are business folks, sort of, I know they vote and support Republicans. And I'm like, man, if these guys are here, and these are just, they're not political guys like you and me, like, I wonder what you're hearing when you just hear from people who may call the show or go to your website. I mean, I really am losing a perspective on where the general public is on these two, as you said, and as the facts say, significant initiative measures that will have an impact on our state for the next generation.
I couldn't agree with you more. And my experiences have been very similar to yours. And what I don't understand is why it definitely feels like, the opposition to 4 and 5, the voices are much louder. And I understand they're much more well-funded than the yes. And that's part of the problem. And just to take one of the issues that I've heard also, the whole idea of, well, you want me to trust Jeff City? You want me to trust politicians? No, because I don't either.
Right.
So, and when they say, well, it's even if I do trust the politicians, what about the forces behind them? Well, that's literally exactly what Amendment 4 would hinder. It would stop it would limit the power and influence of those groups, those people behind them that are pushing this. Because right now, that's the problem, is that we've given the special interests, as you mentioned, a guy trying to put himself in the Constitution, enough money, enough ads, and motivate a small group of voters, especially on an off-year election. You could get a lot done. But by voting yes on 4 stops that. And what I don't understand is the when you do see an ad that's a yes on 4 or even a yes on 5, they try to combat the minutia of the other ads. How come we're not hearing the simple message of, hey, you want to stop special interests influence in amending the Constitution? Vote on 4. Where's that message, instead of trying to get in the weeds in a 30-second ad? I just feel like I don't know if that. I hope that made sense, Rodney. But
No, it did.
I just feel like the conversation has been missed completely. We're off center when all these conversations start.
That's what I'm getting in the conversations that I'm having with people who would have been more open-minded, but the people are struggling with the narrative of what are we really trying to do. I told you a conversation I had at the bank a week ago. The guy was like, why now? What's going on now that's made these? And you had a great
because they finally got
it's taken years to literally get these things through the process. So I just think, in the coming days, I encourage people once again, pick up and read, think about, do you want the Constitution of Missouri to be as amendable as any statute? And then, consequently, do you want to stick with the income model that is not the best model for where we want to go as a state? I get the part that, everybody says, well, Rodney, maybe because you go to Jeff City so much, you have a faith in Jeff City that I don't have, that I don't know that I'm going to want to see. But what I've tried to say to people is this is a good opportunity for you to participate with your legislators. You know, someone talked about politicians, and I said, look, in Jeff City, these folks are you. I mean, I said this yesterday. When you talk about politicians, you're conflating D.C. with Jeff City. The folks that go to Jefferson City come home, you know, first of all, they're home half the year. And then when they go to Jefferson, they come back on Thursday or Friday, and they integrate back into the neighborhood. I said, these are folks you see at church, at your grocery store. Their kids go to school with your kids. Like, these are not politicians that you don't have access to. So if you decided to vote yes on 5, and you wanted to make sure that your voice was heard or your concerns were heard about what comes next, you have a phenomenal ability in this particular state to reach out to your state senator or your state rep and have those conversations.
Yeah.
These are not people that disappear in the bureaucratic sea of D.C. and you can't get access to them and you have to always deal with their staff. Literally, they are at church, the grocery store, around the corner, walking their dogs, at the restaurants. So, and you know, and that's the point I've tried
Make
to
your
make.
voice
People
heard.
Don't,
yeah.
And people don't disagree with that. But still, there's this bridge of like, we got to trust these politicians. And I'm like, remember, these politicians you're talking about are citizen legislators who you have direct access to.
Yeah,
you can get to, you know.
That's
so
such a great
hopefully
point,
people,
Rodney, and that's it, and that's why I love these conversations. Why you make a great point about Amendment 5. This, you know, simplify, like the income tax. The current system is not feasible for the future. I understand the concern about like, well, we don't know what comes next. I agree with that completely, but we know that the path that we're on now is not a sustainable one, and you know that's enough for me right now. And then and then to hold these politicians accountable to make the right steps on the other side, and with Amendment 4, stop the special interests from amending the Constitution. It's a yes on 4 and 5 for me. Rodney, I hope we get a chance to talk again before the election. And actually, on election night, we'll be here 7 to 10 with live election night coverage. Maybe we can join. Maybe you can join us that night.
I will definitely join you on election night, and let's maybe talk again on Monday if the schedule permits.
I love it.
To sort of look at the day ahead.
I love it. I love it. Really appreciate your time as always, my friend. Missouri political insider Rodney Boyd. Thanks so much. Talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great stuff there. We're going to get back into some of the issues both nationally and locally with these elections just 6 days away. But first, Wednesday afternoon, almost 3 o'clock, means it's time to open up Close's Cabinet with Mark Close and Skip Weber next.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup, sure am.
So you know the old-timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your politician's Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people, and the politician's Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Forward 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom. 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the politicians' Amendments 4 and 5.
Paid for by Missourians for fair taxation.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Funeral services for the late U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham wrapped up today. It took 2 days to commemorate the senator. They started yesterday here in Washington and concluded today in his home state of South Carolina. Among the speakers today, former Congressman Trey Gowdy, who said Graham was a very hard-working colleague.
I never met a less pretentious person in my life than Lindsey Graham. It wasn't the trappings of office that he cared about. It was the work. And there is some bitter symmetry to the fact that it was work that he lived for, Darlene, but I am convinced that it is work that took him from us.
Gowdy directing his remarks there to Darlene Graham, that is the senator's sister, who is filling out the remainder of his term and will run for re-election to continue in that role. Dr. Anthony Fauci facing some heat today as he handled questions from the Senate Homeland Security Committee. He refused to answer most of them, citing the Fifth Amendment right about 50 times. And it was Chairman of the committee, Rand Paul, who is one of Fauci's biggest critics, who was not happy about that.
Instead of an apology, you have for years avoided responsibility. Regarding the lockdowns, you argue that you did not personally issue every lockdown order, close every school, or impose every mandate. But officials across the country invoked your authority to justify these decisions. And you presented your recommendations not as judgments open to debate, but as dictates of science itself.
Fauci says he should never have been subpoenaed by the chairman to begin with.
Obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, his repeated slanderous comments about me, and recently his publicly releasing my unredacted personal diary aimed at embarrassing and intimidating me.
More of these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, I'm Kirk Cameron. Christian Healthcare Ministries is not another health insurance policy. If you're tired of year-long contracts and pointless restrictions, CHM offers anytime enrollment on your schedule and at your convenience. With CHM, you're paying half the cost of a traditional health insurance plan. So that puts more money back into your budget for everyday needs. Plus, you'll have access to CHM's care solutions for virtual appointments, prescription savings, surgery support, and more. My family and I joined in 2018, and it's changed our lives for the better. We love paying way less while helping other believers afford their medical bills. Take the leap of faith and see why Christians across the nation are better with CHM.
Get started by calling 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS for a 50% credit towards your first month. That's 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Nice weather. We're back to near normal heat. Low down to 67 degrees tonight. A high of 87 Thursday. Near normal humidity, nothing extreme. Sunshine to start, then increasing clouds in the afternoon, but we stay dry Thursday. It's Friday. We'll have a chance for some showers, maybe some thunderstorms late afternoon and evening, an isolated strong storm, especially southwest of St. Louis, not out of the question. High of 84. Just have the umbrella handy for some off and on rain on Friday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Got scrap metal, junk cars, or old appliances taking up space? Turn that clutter into cash. Since 1968, 21 Recycling and Scrap Metal has been the area's trusted name for recycling. We buy copper, brass, aluminum cans, scrap iron, wheels, catalytic converters, AC units, water heaters, washers, dryers, and yes, junk cars too. With our brand new truck scale on premises, getting paid is fast and easy. Old Highway 21 by Highway M or 21-recycling.com.
Scott, can you believe it's already been more than a decade since the Queen of Carpet sold flooring to St. Louis area contractors?
I know, but I don't have to be a king to offer contractors today's lowest prices.
Yes, contractors owe it to their customers and themselves to shop at Best Buy Flooring for the largest in-stock selection of carpet, carpet tile, sheet vinyl, laminate, hardwood, luxury vinyl plank, and luxury vinyl tile.
Plus 3 convenient locations, North County, South County, and Metro East.
Open 7 days a week.
Best flooring, best selection, Best Buy. Best Buy Flooring.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at SerenityWealthBiz.com. That's SerenityWealthBiz.com. If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere.
Hey, the love of God has got me clean. No old spies. That desert I was in was deep, so dry. But now I'm out here feeling free, so fly. I'm chilling in the shade. Life gave me some lemons, but my Jesus, he be making lemonade. Lemonade. My Jesus making lemonade. Lemonade. I watch my worries wash away. Lemonade, it's gonna be okay. I gave me some lemons, but my Jesus, he be making lemonade with that living water. Spirit
Bet you didn't predict that to be the opening song of KLOSE'S Cabinet this week. Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Quick reminder that we're going to talk to Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments, get back into some of the news stories of the day, including an update. The Fed made an announcement today regarding interest rates, and I want to get all the details about that with Paul Kurtman in about a half an hour from now. But first, 3 o'clock Wednesday afternoon means, yes, indeed, it is time to open up KLOSE'S Cabinet with our buddy Mark Close from KC95. Marker, are you there?
Mr. Colombo, I am here and doing well. How about you?
I am well, and it's great to talk with you. And, of course, the sponsor of KLOSE'S Cabinet is Weber Chevrolet, and Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet is on with us as well. Skip, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome.
Happy day to you guys.
Back at you. Skip, Skip, do you know what song that was that opened up the segment? Are you familiar with that at all?
No idea.
I don't think many people are,
I'm
which
sitting
is
here going, what the heck is this?
Yeah, I don't think many people are, but I'll explain. I'll explain why I played it in just a second. Marker, do you know what artist or song that was that we opened with?
I think calling it a song is somewhat of a stretch, but no, I am not. I'm not aware of what or who it might have been.
That was Forrest Frank. He is a Christian artist, and he was just in town this past Saturday.
He was just here. Yeah, I knew that. I knew he was here. I didn't know his work.
He was just here at Enterprise Center for a sold-out concert that had been sold out for a long time. He's on a tour around the country right now, playing arenas, 20,000-seat arenas, sometimes even bigger, and he is selling out everywhere he goes. And it's amazing to me that, and because I think most people are unfamiliar with him. I don't think that that you guys, especially you guys who are so plugged into the music scene, he doesn't get that mainstream or mass appeal like so many other Christian artists do. But if this was Taylor Swift, maybe that's a bad example because of her recent, but like any a pop artist that was on an arena tour that was selling out every show months in advance in many cases, people would be talking about like, look, this this artist is on a roll. They're taking over the world. They're absolutely killing it. But I guess because it's a Christian artist and he's kind of I wouldn't say he's like a children's art. I definitely wouldn't say that he's a children's artist. But he definitely appeals to younger people on purpose. That's kind of his shtick. But yeah, Mark, what do you think about that? Like, think about all the acts over the years. If there's a tour that's selling out arenas all across the country, people would be talking about it, but they're not talking about this.
Well, you know what? You could do the same if you went and looked at, and we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the Billboard Top 200 or the Billboard 100. If you took the average citizen and even just rounded out to say 50 years old, and you showed them the top 30 songs in the country, I'll bet you the average 50-year-old citizen might know 3 or 4 of them, like a Taylor Swift, a Beyonce, something. But you get into especially when it's a new artist, because that really, you don't have a lot of radio stations playing new artists like that. The kids go online to hear it, they download it and go that route. So the across the board awareness of that band, it's like watching Saturday Night Live. I don't know the host and I don't know the music talent.
Right.
I don't know who any of those people are, but it's got to be generational. I'll be honest with you. When you read, it was a couple weeks ago, the gal that had the number one song in the country, country artist.
Yeah, Ella Langley. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had 3 of the top 4, I think, on the Billboard Hot 100. Yeah.
And I had a friend come to me a couple of months ago. I think she played the Chaffetz Arena a couple of months ago. And a friend of mine came to me and asked about getting tickets. I'm like, who is that? And I talked to somebody in our building because we've got WIL, and the gal that was telling me, she goes, "Oh, she's the hottest artist in the country."
Yeah.
I'm not in the country. I'm not into rap, so I wouldn't be aware of it. So
I just looked. Yeah. Still has the #1 song in the country right now.
Unbelievable.
And Skip, I want to get your thoughts on it, and I do not want to get political. We don't get political on this segment on purpose because this is our break from that right in the middle of the week. You know,
it's not political.
Yeah, exactly.
Even political music is not political.
Amen. But I think just for the sake of this conversation, you know, I'm talking about like if there was another artist that was selling out arenas all over the country, they'd get more press. I think because it's a Christian artist that the mainstream media doesn't want to, you know, give those accolades to or, you know, endorse in any way. I think that plays into part of the reason that it's so unfamiliar. But it's just crazy to me because I was barely aware of this guy. Barely aware of this guy, only because my son listened to some of their songs. I was barely aware of this guy until we were buying tickets and like months ago. And my wife, my son were the second to last row. They were one row in front of the back wall of the Enterprise Center, and we bought tickets months ago. I was totally caught off guard by how popular this guy is.
So we've got the suite at Enterprise that I initially got for hockey, but it expanded to everything else. And so I go to a decent amount of concerts, but I mainly have it for my employees, honestly. I only go to a few hockey games a year. My employees go to it. I go to a few concerts. I send it to my employees. And I had a lot of requests for that concert that my assistant handles. So I knew of him.
Yeah.
I did not know the songs he sang. So I definitely knew of him. I've listened to a lot of Christian rock in my life. You know, back in the day, you had just killer groups like Petra and the Resurrection Band. You know, more recently, Jars of Clay, Casting Crowns, rock bands.
Yeah.
People that would be in the rock genre. That's what I like. That's the kind of music I like. Like Mark said, it's not into country, not into rap. I know there's Christian rap, there's Christian punk, there's all that stuff. I don't know it. And that's why I don't know this guy. Now, my sister's kids were all talking on this thread that we have. Who's going to Forrest Frank? Who's going to Forrest Frank? I'm trying. I'm going, or I was trying, but I couldn't get tickets. I could go, man, I wish you guys knew because I could have snuck you into the suite there. But I didn't even know. I mean, I didn't know who knew him. I just don't know.
I know.
I mean, I've got out of every 10 concerts that come to Enterprise, I maybe know, like Mark's point, I know 2 or 3 of them. I've heard of almost every country one.
Right.
There's a lot of comedy. There's a lot of rap. There's a lot of pop, and I don't know them, and I just give it out to the employees. And everything, every event has enough employees amongst my organization that wants to fill it. So it's just weird how out of touch that makes me feel sometimes.
But I don't think you're. I think you're in the majority though of people when it comes to that, especially with. He's a very poppy Christian artist.
If it was,
it's not rock.
If it was rock and roll, I probably would have known more about it. I still know. You know, like I said, I know. You know, Megan Mulroney just came as. You know, I didn't know any of her songs, but I definitely knew her. But when someone like Eric Church comes, I even know a bunch of the songs. You know, when Jelly Roll came, what a great show that was. And I knew several of the songs. I didn't even know I knew some of his songs.
Right.
You know, so they have all those. You know, but it does, like we're saying, it makes me feel very out of touch that someone's so popular.
Yeah.
Ella Langley, I didn't recognize the music, but I know very much about her because Chevrolet sponsors her.
Yeah.
So there's all these little vines and tendrils of connections, and it's just you got to be, I guess, lucky sometimes to have the right ones.
Yeah. Well, I was very similar situation, exactly that experience that you had, and that's why I just wanted to, touch on that and talk about it here because. Certainly, if it was another artist, a rock artist, or anybody come to St. Louis that's sold out months in advance and is selling out shows all across the country, we'd certainly be talking about it. And I think like this comes through, and people aren't even aware.
St. Louis would be talking about it.
Yeah.
Great Day St. Louis would be talking about it, and Five on Your Side, and all you'd hear about it everywhere.
Yeah.
But no, crickets.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I just blown away by this how popular and how successful this artist has been, Forrest Frank, and this tour is, and wanted to touch on it. And my son and my wife just had an absolute blast at the show as well. And Mark, going back to because I pulled it up. Oh, good. Yeah, go ahead.
Tony, I don't mean to sound controversial about it, but a lot of it is, I mean, look, people are looking for good content.
Yeah.
Okay? Yes, they want good talent, but they
want some positivity.
They want to be able to say, here's the lyric sheet for this song, and I can read it in front of my 4-year-old.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
They want to be able to say that I don't have to worry about my teenager listening to something that I object to the content of the lyrics. And so, yes, there's definitely plenty of Christians that listen to that, but there's plenty of people that would also say, if they're honest about it, you could say that at least you're not going to hear stuff that's objectionable.
Amen. Amen. A lot of parents, a lot of families that just want, to know that they're not going to be exposed to something that they find inappropriate, and and I think you're right. I think there's a lot of thirst for that. And Mark, last thing here, I didn't intend to pull up the Billboard Hot 100 again, but since you brought it up, I wanted to check on it. What's really interesting is that was like 3 weeks ago, at least, maybe a month ago, right? That we had it was at least 2-3 weeks ago that we had that conversation. It's barely changed. Like it looks like I'm looking at basically the exact same thing. Ella Langley's still number 1. Taylor Swift is still number 2. Maybe she was number 3, but that Taylor Swift Toy Story song is still in the top 3. Ella Langley still got another one in the top 4. She was 3 of the top 4 last time. She's 2 of the. Oh no, we lost one of them. Marker.
I'm here.
Okay, so it's just just another little takeaway there that there's not a whole lot of movement either when it comes to popular music right now. But just really, really, really interesting stuff I wanted to touch on as we get Skip back on the line here, talking to Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet and Mark Close from KC95. It's Close's Cabinet here on Colombo and Company. I love these. Like, would you rather or what would you pick type questions. And there's another one that has gone viral. Someone conducted a poll on social media this past week asking people, which would you pick? $50,000 instantly or flipping a coin for a 50% chance at $1 million. Let's Skip back on the line with us. Skip, are you back?
Yes. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Something very weird happened there.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine. It's the people that are trying to silence the conversation about Christian music. No, I'm kidding. I was just explaining this one to Mark. I was saying I love these. Like, would you rather questions, or what would you choose questions. A poll has recently gone viral on social media asking people, what would you choose, A or B? A, just being handed $50,000 immediately, or B, flipping a coin for a 50-50 chance to win $1 million. $1 million or zero. Marker, what are you? I'll tell you the results here in a second, but what are you doing in that situation? Taking the guaranteed $50,000 or going for the whole $1 million?
Yeah, I thought about it and I was leaning towards the $50,000, but then I thought about it, and sadly, just sad to say, nowadays,
yes,
$50,000 is not life-changing money.
I mean, agree.
And to be honest with you, for $1 million, I mean, it's nice to have. I'd love to have it, but I mean, it's not like going, okay, if you're 30 years old and you get $1 million, you can't quit your job. You can't. I mean, that million is, man.
But it's a whole lot more impactful than $50,000, especially today. So let's make it a little more interesting, because I had that exact same thought process when I was thinking about what I would do. And I would, if it was stayed like that, I would flip for the $1 million, because as much as $50,000 would be amazing and would go, a long way to paying things off. And, the totality of my lifetime, that, the difference, the impact it would have on my life is not that that massive. $1 million, while again, doesn't mean I can retire tomorrow or anything like that. I'm still, working for a living. It would be something that would change the path of my, certainly.
You pay everything. You pay all your debts, pay everything off, be debt free. Yeah, exactly.
So let's make it a little more interesting. Let's bump it up to $150,000 just handed to you immediately, or 50-50 for $1 million. Skip, what are you doing in that situation?
So if you go pure math, 50,000, okay.
But I bumped it up to 150.
I know. Wait
okay, all right, got it.
So 50,000 is 1/20th of $1 million. Okay, so you're going 50% chance to get 20 times the return. That's good. Now you're only getting like what eight times the return or something like that to jump up to those two differences. So now it's narrower.
Yeah.
The jump is narrower. So I don't know. This is fun though because
I love it. I love these things. Yeah.
My wife and I watch a ton of game shows. Tons of them. Okay. And this is a type of decision that is made in almost every game show in whatever the bonus round is.
I love a good game show. I don't know why they're not as popular. I agree with you. Game shows are awesome.
You got 10,000, so if you go one more step and you get this one bit, that can go to 20,000 or whatever. And people always stop short because they don't want to lose what they got. But you want to see them, risk it all for this other. That's the same. It's the same decision. But I would always go. You'd have to get that number pretty high for me not to shoot for the $1 million.
Yeah. Okay? So you're doing the coin flip.
But if you jump if you're jumping from 50 to 150, I think you got to go from 1 million to like 2.5 million.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, your first quiz or your first dilemma is a 20 times bigger return. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I think
you're guaranteed this.
That's what I love
about this. Shot at 20 times more. If you up that to 150, now you're guaranteed this, or you got a shot at 8 times more. That's a smaller increase, even though it's the same total amount.
Yep.
And so that becomes something like, maybe I'll just go with the 150 and then walk away happy because I know I got it. I don't know.
Absolutely. Marker, you want to take that's why I love this. I love the breakdown. I love doing the math and the percent. That's what makes it so fun. And you're right. There's so many. I mean, deal or no deal. What was the one with the
deal or no deal?
Yeah,
we offer you $600,000.
Yeah.
The $2 million is still up there, but so is the $5.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
what was the game show with the cranky old lady in the middle, and you could bank your money or you could keep trying to build it? Weakest link. Yeah. Same thing. Put the stuff in the bank or try to go that next level of increasing it. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That was part of the intrigue with that.
It's all the same thing. You're exactly right.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
Exactly
so,
right.
Mark, what do you think were the results? Because the results are pretty. It's not like a 50-50 thing. It's almost two-thirds. For the winning side, what do you think people picked in the poll? And again, this is the 50,000 or $1 million. What do you think the results were?
I would think 60 to 70% would have taken the 50,000.
You are spot on. 65% of Americans say they would take the guaranteed $50,000 rather than flip the coin for $1 million. 25% said that they would flip for $1 million. 10% say they weren't sure, and those 10%, that's a problem.
Those 10% just don't want to.
That's why you don't have any money.
So it goes. Benjamin Franklin said, "A bird in the hand."
Yeah,
there you go.
Is worth a coin flip for $2 million.
Okay, one more.
That's what Ben said.
One more question. Kind of another what do you think about this situation? But totally different topic. Another poll was done on social media that went viral. about ChatGPT and chat bots. And I don't know if we've done it on this segment, but I've talked, we've done ridiculous stories in the past about the guy who was like engaged to his ChatGPT. And then it's only going to get worse when the robots start showing up and people start marrying. I mean, it's only going to get worse. But there was a poll done about asking people, does flirting with ChatGPT, I don't even know how you do that, but I guess it's a thing. Does flirting with ChatGPT count as cheating on your relationship? Skip, yes or no, does flirting with ChatGPT count as cheating?
Yes. Yes.
Because it's your heart. It's like wherever your heart is.
Because you're taking your emotional connection elsewhere.
I agree.
Yep.
Mark, what do you think? Does flirting with ChatGPT count as cheating?
Only if ChatGPT sends you flowers or something like that. Then to me, it's cheating. So.
Well,
you've got to respond. Yes, I believe it's cheating.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah. And now maybe there's levels of cheating. If somebody's like, well, it's not like you'd. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But I agree with Skip. It's more about giving that attention, that piece of your heart.
Yeah, your emotional connection is
yes.
to your spouse or your significant other, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, or your husband, wife, whatever. Your emotional connection is built with them. As soon as you take that elsewhere. Even for like a day, I don't want to do it permanently. That's one day worth of cheating, 1 day of emotional elsewhere. That's cheating.
Yep. But okay, Skip, I'll ask you this time. We're all on the same page. But what do you think the results of the poll were? What percentage of people say that it counts as cheating?
I think 70% said no, because I think most people feel that true cheating is if only you commit the physical act. Most people feel that. When in reality, it's not.
You guys have your finger on the pulse of America. Only 24% of Americans say that flirting with ChatGPT counts as cheating. So what is that? 76%.
See, Mark and I have an online psychology business.
That's right.
We know the psychology of how people are. He's the music guy. I'm a car guy, but in reality, we're both just amateur psychologists.
Amateur being the operative word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and you're proving it. You're proving it today. Last thing, real quick. Oscar Mayer is celebrating the 90th anniversary. That's like a Skip next to Weber Chevrolet. That's like that's a startup. You only been around for 90 years. Yeah, give me a break. Oscar Mayer is celebrating the 90th anniversary of the Wienermobile. It's not the company. It's the actual car. The Wienermobile is celebrating its 90th anniversary this weekend by passing out, this is what they're called, wiener cakes. So if you're in the market for a wiener cake,
okay,
find the Wienermobile. Go ahead, Skip.
Only 30% of the public believes that giving someone a wiener cake is cheating.
That's right.
And if you're wondering, a wiener cake is a bunch of hot dogs arranged around a 2-tier cake, along with ketchup and mustard-colored confetti. There's also a Wienermobile cake topper on there. So it's really it's literally just like hot dogs stacked on top of each other. That's it. In the shape of a cake. It does.
Okay, so it's
it looks like they're surrounding. Oh, they're wrapped around the cake. So the cake's in the middle, and then the hot dogs are around the outside of the cake, kind of like another layer of icing, except it's hot dogs. Delicious.
Yeah. I still can't get over the Wienermobile's 90 years old.
90 years old, created in Chicago in 1936.
I can tell you, this may be of interest or it may not, but I can tell you that I personally have mechanically worked on the Wienermobile.
Oh, I think that's...
We used to be the St. Louis stopping point for the Midwest, any mechanical issues. The Wienermobile was one of our clients at our Creve Coeur location. This is back when it was the only location we had. And we no longer do that. I don't know if it goes to dealerships anymore, but it came in. And there was a day when I was in high school and I was working in actually in the body shop, and they needed a couple people to do some stuff, like they needed extra hands, like porters, and I was one of them, and we were turning bolts on that thing and helping fix it. So I have part of the 90-year tradition of the Wienermobile.
Not only do I think that that's interesting, I think that literally makes you part of American history, even more so.
It deserves a free wiener cake if someone would.
And if you're one of the folks that watch the show on social media, on Facebook or Rumble or Twitter, I've got a picture up right now on the cameras of the Wienermobile. You can see it right there on the live stream cameras.
Wow.
Before we wrap things up, Marker, we're wrapping up. I can't believe it. Talking about these elections next week. We're wrapping up the month of July in 2026. It's absolutely flying by. What is coming up for this the last part of summer here, heading into fall? What's the latest at KC95? What's going on with the band? What do we need to let folks know about?
Well, I'll be doing Monday to Thursday next week, 2 to 6. Timothy's taking some time off, so I'll be back on the main side there for a while. And then this weekend, the band will be out Friday night at Cafe Smoke and Pie out in DeSoto. We'll be there from 7 until 10. And then Saturday's going to be the one, hopefully, that, Mama Colombo's going to be showing again. They're going to be showing. That's one at St. Ferdinand Park this Saturday. Cool. Starting at 7, we got Danny Liston, he of Mama's Pride and Anthology. He and his guitar player Matt are going to open the show, and then we're going to do about an hour and 15 with close quarters, and the show finishes up with the one and only Billy Peak, the Rod Stewart Billy Peak, the guy that has been a guitar player and known throughout the world. He's going to be finishing up the show. It's in St. Ferdinand Park this Saturday night. It starts at 7. Bring your cooler, bring your lawn chairs, no admission price. It's and the weather, we might have to dodge a couple of raindrops. I don't think so, but it's not going to be 110 with humidity at 12,000%. So that's a plus. That's a plus.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we talked about last week, I've been familiar with those parties in the park, or whatever they call them there at St. Ferdinand Park in Florida. It's a great time. So I highly recommend everybody get out there and check it out. And Skip, wrapping up another month here, getting ready to kick off August. What's happening at Weber?
Well, we're dead in the middle of the sell down ramp up between the two model years, so it's always a very fun time. You've either got the opportunity to get one of the very first model year, vehicles of the new model year, and that's the time when the residuals for leasing purposes are at the highest. So your lowest lease payments of the model year are available now. At the same time, the model year that's leaving, 26s, that's the highest rebates from Chevrolet, from Detroit, to have the get rid of the old, off the shelves, so to speak. So you've got both of those things, one advantage for each one. The only thing I can say is that the selection of the 26s is every time we sell one, it's not being replaced. So it is a good time to take advantage of that now, rather than come in and say, what do you got? And you have like 3 to choose from versus, 103.
Absolutely.
So both good. These times of year when we have such good sales always results in a very, very good selection of pre-owned vehicles, though. So that's another good thing, too.
Absolutely.
Summer's great used car buying times.
Great stuff. As I mentioned, 90 years is nothing on Weber Chevrolet, getting ready to celebrate 125 years in business in the St. Louis area. Just awesome stuff. Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet. Mark Close from KC95. Gentlemen, thanks as always for your time. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great rest of your day.
See you, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Great stuff there. All right, as I mentioned, we're going to dive back into the headlines of the day. We're going to be joined in about 10 minutes by Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments. The Fed making an announcement about interest rates today. When I have him unpack that. Also, I mentioned there was major developments with Iran in the last 24 hours. Since we were talking about this on yesterday's show, I want to update you on what's happening there. That also will have an impact on the markets and the world economy going forward. So want to update you on some of those things, and then we're going to talk to Paul Kurtman as we continue this very busy Wednesday afternoon on Colombo Company.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Fox News Commentary with Kennedy, next.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Here's Kennedy.
Dr. Fauci didn't care. He did not consider the mental health implications, the long-term ramifications, which were much more devastating than what kids were coming across in schools. And the fact that he would sit there like a bald-faced liar and, say that he was merely a peripheral participant in all of this, and he was not the person at the center of a dictating policy. He was, and we know that from his diary now, because he talked about how he was the most interesting and famous person in the world, the most sought-after person, so famous, and that's what he wanted to be. He didn't really care about, whether or not healthy people would die, if sick COVID patients were forced into their nursing homes, or if kids would have these mental health journeys that were insurmountable for years to come. He didn't care. He cared about being famous.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Tuesday night.
Missouri decides 2026.
All the results and reactions from the Missouri State Primary. You have to get out and vote. From the voices you know and trust in St. Louis for election night coverage.
Amendment 4.
Amendment 5.
County executives. Coverage begins Tuesday night at 7 on St. Louis's conservative voice.
Right here.
News Talk STL. Brought to you by Fast Signs in Bridgeton, 21 Recycling in House Springs, Gemini Wealth Group, and Freddy's Market.
License number GL2500615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do, until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis. Or go online to OverstockOutletSTL.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
There's always something to celebrate in Augusta, Missouri, just 1 hour from St. Louis. Every season brings festivals and special events you won't want to miss. Hop the free trolley to 10 wineries in America's first wine district. Bike the Katy Trail and explore historic small-town charm. Make Augusta your next getaway. Find events and cozy B&Bs at visitaugusta-chamber.org.
Coming soon, the return of the Defiance Roadhouse. Located on Highway 94 along the Missouri River, this long-standing fixture is known for its biker-friendly atmosphere, live music, and decades as a beloved community gathering place. Rev your engines and stand by for the grand opening, early September. The Roadhouse is back.
Fall means the return of Mizzou football. And this year promises another great season of SEC action. There's no better place to catch every game than Harpo's in Chesterfield. With its excellent sports bar atmosphere and the best patio in West County, Harpo's is your Tiger headquarters. Harpo'sSTL.com.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story, a fire on a U.S. aircraft carrier, killing more than 100.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Just about 5 minutes from now, we're going to talk to Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments. Paul told us on Monday during his regular hit with us at the beginning of the week that this was going to be a busy week with some announcements and various reports coming out. And we did get an announcement today from the Fed deciding to leave interest rates alone for now. I want to talk to Paul about that announcement and the impact that it has. So we're going to get him on the line here in just a couple minutes. Also, wanted to get you updated on what's happening with Iran, because not only is that obviously important news, but also this will be a perfect part of the conversation with Paul as well, as the more chaos that happens over in that part of the world, the more it can impact the world's economy as well. President Donald Trump this morning, issued a profanity-laced threat against Iran after the Islamic regime launched a surprise missile strike on U.S. forces in Jordan overnight. This is really a step further than we've seen, and I think a real wake-up call on just how intense this is and how far away we are from the negotiations and the ceasefires that we've been talking about so much over the last few months. Quote, which as much of the quote as I could give, quote, "We're going to beat the effing S out of them," Trump told Fox News chief foreign correspondent Trey Yanks this morning. Quote, "We'll be hitting them hard. They're going to get a beating." Trump said the American forces in Jordan had just minutes to respond and shoot down an incoming Iranian ballistic missile attack. The president added that he reviewed video showing U.S. personnel calling out coordinates in real time during the interceptions. U.S. Central Command said all Iranian missiles were successfully intercepted. Trump called the militias a cancer on the world and said additional warnings against Iranian proxies were under consideration. Also, today, there was there was another report of an attack. Iran launched a reported drone attack off Egypt's coast. President Donald Trump said this afternoon that he had been briefed on a reported drone attack off Egypt's coast, warning the U.S. would respond forcefully if Iran continues to escalate tensions, which it certainly seems like they are. His comments came after reports that a U.S.-owned liquefied natural gas tanker was targeted by a drone. The president said, quote, "I've been briefed." Trump made the remarks in the Oval Office. Also saying, quote, "It's a little more of the same, but it's going to be straightened out. In the meantime, we're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know it's coming. They're asking us not to do it. But, they tried shooting it last night, so we had 5 rockets shot going 8,500 miles an hour, and all 5 rockets were knocked down to the ground, but they nevertheless took a shot. So it's our turn, and we'll see if we get there with an agreement at some point, but we're going to hit them very hard." So, yeah, it seems like things are escalating even further with the conflict with Iran, and obviously we'll keep you posted on that situation as it develops, and want to talk to Paul Kurtman about the impact that this is having on the world economy and the markets, and get his thoughts on the announcement today from the Fed. We're going to talk to Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments next here on Colombo Company.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup, sure am.
So you know the old-timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your politician's Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people, and the politician's Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Forward 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom. 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the Politicians Amendments 4 and 5, paid for by Missourians for Fair Governance.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for Window World. Did you know that Window World offers a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor? They are one of the only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Window World St. Louis has been owned and operated by a group of born and raised St. Louis residents for more than 23 years, and now Window World is offering 36 months same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today, 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS.
There's an old way to buy a mattress, and there's a snooze way. Remember dial-up internet? You'd click on a picture, go make a sandwich, come back, and maybe it had loaded. It worked, but nobody wants to go back. Well, buying a mattress has evolved too. At Snooze Mattress Company, we use advanced pressure mapping technology to understand exactly what your body needs instead of simply asking you to guess after laying on a mattress for a few minutes. When you sleep better, everything gets better.
At Body of Health, we're a small but mighty family operation with big ambitions for your health. I'm Helene Tobler, and I'm jazzed about how our MRI-grade body composition analyzer is putting personalized health and wellness on steroids. It helps me and Dr. Tobler, that's my husband, refine the advice we give to help you feel better and live longer. Body of Health, trusted, discerning, affordable health care the way it ought to be. Learn more at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Travis Wilson here, State Representative of District 106 in St. Charles, Missouri's first state capital. As a 31-year resident of St. Charles County, I know the issues that are important to our residents, such as protecting women's sports, stopping harmful procedures on minors, and fighting the woke agenda. As your representative, I know what it takes to bring new opportunities to our community to ensure our children have a brighter future. It's been the honor of a lifetime for my family and me to represent you, and I humbly ask for your vote again on August 4th.
Paid for by Wilson for St. Charles. Merle Schneider, Treasurer.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Got about 10 minutes to go here before we hand things off to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And on the line with us now is Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments. Paul, you told us on Monday during the regular conversation at the beginning of the week that this was going to potentially be a busy week with financial news and announcements and reports and things like that, and it's come true. Today, the Federal Reserve makes an announcement about interest rates. I'll just let you take it from here. What did the Fed announce today, and can you just unpack it for us?
Yeah, sure thing, Tony. So I'll just tell you at first that this morning when the markets opened up, they were a little mixed. You know, you could tell you weren't sure if the markets were going to go up or go down. But part of that is due to the fact that the Federal Reserve had their meeting today, and they were going to make an announcement over whether or not interest rates were going to stay the same, go up, or go down. Now, it's important to understand the context here before I tell you the vote. Last month, the Federal Reserve was entirely unanimous, the Board of Governors. All 12 voting members of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, there was a unanimous decision to keep interest rates steady. Well, that has changed. In a vote today, 9 of the members of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve voted to keep rates the same, but 3 members of the Federal Reserve voted to immediately raise rates by another 0.25%. So you can begin to see that the Federal Reserve is kind of fractured on this issue now, and the markets responded to that. The S&P 500 started in the red this morning when the bell rang, and over the course of the day, it began to creep back up towards that break-even mark before that announcement was made. But then once that announcement was made, the markets, all the major indexes, just went right back into the red. The S&P 500 ended the day down over 1.5%. So the markets were looking for better news in terms of interest rates. and they didn't get it. They would like to see maybe another cut. They would like to see a unanimous decision to keep interest rates the same. But the fact that the Federal Reserve Board of Governors is now fractured on this issue, it could develop into a trend where maybe next month they pick up more votes and we start to see the whole Board of Governors beginning to move in the direction of an interest rate hike. So we don't know what's going to happen, but we do know that the reason that those three members voted for a hike was basically because they have concerns about inflation, sending a second wave of inflation across the country related to the rising cost of energy because of the ongoing conflict with Iran and the closure and control needed of the Straits of Hormuz.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but, any announcement, holding steady, cutting rates, raising rates, obviously going to have an impact. But one of the reasons why this one's so important is because of that division that you just pointed out, that uncertainty or division, conflict is usually sometimes the worst, the worst thing when it comes to impact on the markets. Is that correct? Is it that split, that internal split that is causing this to make so much news today?
Yeah, I kind of think so. It was, and the reason is because it was a new split. Just 30 days ago, they all agreed to keep interest rates the same, and now you have a quarter of the Board of Governors saying, no, let's begin to move interest rates back up. So we've seen three members of the Board of Governors now break ranks with the unanimous decision that they had last month, and so that could gain steam. Like as the conflict continues to go, these three members of the Board of Governors could start making the case that other members of the board need to join them to raise interest rates because the war is not coming to an end. It could make energy costs continue to go up. That could become even more inflationary. And so they could make the case, hey, we need to get out ahead of this next wave of inflation. We need to make sure interest rates go back up so we can keep inflation down. So I think it has to do with that. The other thing, too, this is interesting. The federal the chairman of the board, Kevin Warsh, usually whenever they have a decision to not raise or lower rates, oftentimes you'll hear media personalities in the news say, we're going to pause. We're just going to pause. We're not doing anything. We're not moving them up. We're not moving down. We're just pausing. He was very adamant today in his press conference that they're not pausing. He said, we are doing a very thorough review. And so he's kind of taken a different approach. It's not, hey, we're pausing to see what happens. He's saying we're pausing to do he's saying we're just doing a very thorough review. We are not pausing. That makes me think that he is actively considering actually moving in the direction of raising interest rates or maybe keeping them the same, but he's trying to send the message that he is basically doing what he was sent there to do, like aggressively pursuing exactly what needs to happen. We're not just pausing and waiting. We're actually pursuing some answers to find out what we need to do. So I think that that's good as long as that's actually what they're doing. But then again, you're going to have these other three members of the Board of Governors that are probably going to start lobbying for an interest rate hike the longer this war continues and the higher energy costs continue to be.
Well, and speaking of that war, and we've only got a couple minutes left here, Paul, and we'll continue the conversation soon, but just to get your thoughts on that, I just talked about in the last segment, Iran launched an attack last night against U.S. forces in Jordan. There was another reported attack earlier today in Egypt. It seems like Iran is getting more aggressive, that this conflict is heading into more of a military conflict than it is to the negotiations and ceasefires and things that we've talked about to this point. Just like I said, just a couple of minutes here, but what do you think that impact has on the future, and what does it tell you about how long of a situation that we're in here in the Middle East?
Well, the longer it takes to actually get an agreement between the U.S. and Iran, that is everything we want and everything we've asked for, the longer that takes, the more risk we incur of bringing all these other countries into it and it just really going south quick. And we have to put troops on the ground and you name it. And this just continues on and on and on. If that happens, I could foresee the markets responding to that in a way that doesn't seem very positive, but the markets have a way of shaking off major news. We've talked about this before, so it's just hard to say what's going to happen till it actually happens. But I would say that people should anticipate that the markets are going to react to major world news as they have especially when it concerns the Middle East.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems now more than ever, especially after these actions in the last 24 hours from Iran, that it's only ramping up, not down, when it comes to the military actions revolving this war with Iran. Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments. Really appreciate a little impromptu bonus appearance this week to help us cover all these important stories. Paul, thank you so much for your time, as always. Look forward to talking to you again very soon, my friend. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Tony.
And we will be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock as we continue to get ready and prepared for the midterm primary elections here in Missouri that are just 6 days away. Quick reminder that we are going to be here live for you on election night this coming Tuesday. We'll be broadcasting live from 7 to 10 p.m., covering the election results as they come in, keeping you up to speed, up to the second results throughout the night. Big thanks to Freddy's Market, Gemini Wealth Group, Fast Signs of Bridgeton, and 21 Recycling and Imperial, great sponsors of our broadcast this coming Tuesday night. Keep it here. Colombo Company, Ashley and I will be back tomorrow at 2, but Larry's commentary is next, then the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show.
John Beal knows it right after a hailstorm. New roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Brother, can you spare a dime? That's my view of the DNC, the Democrat National Committee. It has $16 million in cash to help candidates in the midterm election. But, and this is a big but, while it has $16 million, it's also $18 million in debt. The DNC just put its party headquarters up as collateral to get a $2 million loan and is asking vendors, please don't send us any bills until after the elections. So if the DNC loses many, if not most, of those elections, do you think the vendors will be paid? Do you believe in the tooth fairy? The standard practice